Hey, Mary Sue. This is Teresa Jusino.
I'm Jessica Lachenal.
Hi, I'm sorry.
No, please go. Do the thing.
And I'm Sammus. I'm a producer and rapper, but my real name is Anongo, and I go by either one.
Yay! We are so thrilled that Sammus is joining us today because tomorrow she has an album coming out. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And it's the title and when people can expect to check it out.
Yes, so this project is dropping tomorrow, October 28th. And it's a project called Pieces in Space. It's a full-length LP, so that's 12 tracks with a couple of features from my favorite people. And I'm really excited because it's my first time doing like an official release with like vinyl and like CDs and all of the sort of proper album things.
Definitely. Now we've definitely written about you before, and I know a lot of our readers love your stuff. Especially as it relates to, women and geekery. Yeah. But just to get started, I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of what inspired Pieces in Space. Why this album and why now?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. I think my boo is coming home, so I'll just...
We'll get to say hello.
Yeah, so I'll just keep talking and then... as soon as he walks in awkwardly, hey Sandra, you can come in. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Bye. Okay, anyway.
Support systems are important, you guys.
They are.
Support
systems.
Totally.
So in terms of the album, I wanted to release, so I released an EP earlier this year, and that was something that I wanted to do to follow up my Metroid project that I dropped in 2014. So I made this kind of like Kickstarter funded Metroid tributes EP, and I wanted to do something that would introduce all of the people who would come to me through that project to sort of my broader world. And so initially I thought, okay, I'm going to drop an album at the top of the year, right around my birthday, which is in March. But the more that I talked to people, the more they said, maybe you should have something to kind of bridge the gap before you drop like your magnum opus, And so I decided, okay, well, maybe I'll drop an EP, just 6 songs that kind of talk about my identity as a geek, but do it in a way that isn't necessarily tethered to a specific game or specific fandom. And so after I put that out there as sort of a feeler almost to see how people responded, and people were really receptive, I thought, okay, now I'm ready to work on like the big project with a lot of the ideas that I've been thinking about for like years or months at a time. So that's how this project sort of evolved.
Awesome.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of the themes that you touch on in this album speak of like a almost transitional change and things like that. A lot of the songs have a lot of difference in tone from the beginning to the end. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, actually, in Nighttime, Headliner.
Yeah.
You sing about whether I was worth paying to see, there's this sort of like almost imposter syndrome, I want to say, It says you wrote that in November 2015. Do you still feel the same way, like now that we're basically a year out?
Yeah, I still feel that way. I think anyone who follows me on Twitter probably sees a lot of it. I tweet a lot when I'm like having anxiety about kind of artistic woes or creative issues, and part of that is because the community that I've cultivated on Twitter is full of creatives and people who are trying to do some of the same work, so it's often kind of a comforting space, or they'll share stories of imposter syndrome with me and we can kind of like hug each other online.
Right.
And so, yeah, even last week, I was like having this crisis about my album. Like, what if everybody hates it and everybody hates me and then it's all over? And so, yeah, that's something I battle. I would say at least with this album dropping so shortly, probably on like an hourly basis, but in my regular life, maybe like a weekly basis.
For sure. I mean, a lot of the stories between creative folks kind of parallel each other, you know. There is that comfort in social media. Yeah, and in some strange ways, the Comments Disabled touches on how, you know, the darker side of that, I suppose, you know, the terrible things that can come of it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us have this like kind of fluctuating, tenuous relationship with social media, right? Where it's like we've built these amazing communities and found so much strength through the folks that we engage with, but there's always this sort of backdrop, or sometimes, you know, front and center is the like worst of humanity, you know. So it's always like, you know, how far do I want to engage, and I think those are questions that I was trying to grapple with on the album, and of course, you know, I don't come to any conclusion.
Yeah, for sure.
But I have to say, I think Comments Disabled is one of my favorite songs.
Yay, yes!
I love it, and I also love that it's angry. But it's not like, oh, well, with me, I have to deal with all these comments. It's like, no, let me tell you something about life. Like,
Yes, and I'm so happy that you said that, because I think that I was reading a tweet about this today, that there's this inclination often to, like, you know, when they go low, we go high, or you know, take the high road. And sometimes I don't really feel like dealing with the high road, you know, like you know, if I'm being accosted or if someone I care about I don't want to hear about the high road.
Right.
You know, so I think that song is, and I'm so glad that you spoke to that, because I wanted that to come through, that it's really, you know, me talking my talk and wanting to articulate that I truly don't care how they feel about it.
For sure. I mean, it takes emotional labor to be kind and take the high road, right?
Yes,
and sometimes you just can't deal with it.
Yeah, that's how I feel. So I'm so happy that you picked up on that aspect of it.
Definitely. And I think women are always expected to, too.
Yes.
Like, guys can kind of get away with talking trash, but like women are supposed to be better than that. And it's like, no, sometimes I want to throw down too.
Yeah, that's definitely a frustrating aspect of it too, is that immediately you're sort of labeled as you know, being a B or other things if you respond to someone who came at you crazy. So it's like, I just, it's such a frustrating, I think, thing to navigate. And I hope that, you know, other women, other folks online who have dealt with that will gravitate towards this song as a way to engage with someone who's also angry about it.
I mean, especially as like a prominent artist, you know, you have that visibility, and the people who are coming at you don't, you know, and you're the one, all your actions are put under a microscope, and it's hard to deal with that balance, I suppose.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's become more and more stressful, I think. Like with every video drop or every publication that says a nice thing, I'm always, you know, clutching and kind of scared. And it's so sad and kind of frustrating that for so many of us, like excitement about success is always kind of this anxiety about, well, what happens when this falls into the wrong hands, and then I have to deal with everything that comes with that. It sucks that you can't just be excited and put happy face emojis everywhere, and that's it.
Right? I mean, I don't know if anybody else on the TMS staff feels the same way, but when we see something spiking, it's never a question of, and I think we might have lost Teresa, but it's never a question of, like, oh, congratulations on your piece doing well. It's always like, oh, are you doing okay? Do you need anything? You're checking their Twitter for them and stuff, you know?
Yeah, totally. That's a part of the dynamic that we unfortunately are like trying to figure out how to wrestle with right now.
Right. I mean, there's these strange expectations around what you're supposed to do, and just like, can we just dismantle those? You know, can we just deal with that? I mean, there is a lot of emotional labor involved in being kind. You know, there's that saying that it costs nothing to be kind. That's really not true. Yeah, not true, right? Totally. And as an artist, visible artist, a lot of work in what you do is put under the microscope. So it can be cathartic to have a song like this, right?
Yeah, and especially because outside of just like, you know, my work being consumed on a bigger sort of stage, my responses to things are also, I think, consumed in a different way. So I have had to be mindful, you know, of like how I engage with something. If I respond to a comment, you know, do I want to like spotlight this person? I don't, you know, I have to like think about what the kind of politics of navigating online space are when I know that people are watching the things that I'm doing. Like I want to make sure that I'm being mindful of that. And so it's hard because there is this dynamic of like, I want to respond to this BS right now. And then it's like, well, do I need to have this play out as like in front of an audience, or, you know, so all of these things go into every interaction. So it can be nice to kind of channel all of that into just like a very angry anthem about not having to engage with that, or all the things I wish I could say.
And it's a wonderful anthem. Like,
Thank
it's a lot of resonance there, you know.
Oh,
I don't know if that counts as a pun yet, but whatever.
I will take it.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, I mean, and I know that every song is your baby, but like on this album, is there one that is particularly meaningful to you? One that you felt the closest to when creating it, or that you're happiest is on this album?
Yeah, I would say, wow, that's so hard, right? Like, pick which one.
Which of your children's your favorite?
It's easy. I think, can I pick two kids?
Yes.
Okay, so the first baby is one that was actually, it was on the last project, but I updated it with a feature. It's a song called 1080p, and it's about, you know, my struggles with sort of mental health issues, and like my journey to find therapy after a very kind of up and down relationship, and being in academia. Like all of those things came to a head in 2014, and so that was a song that I kind of needed to write in order to move forward with my life, even just to get those things out into the world. And since releasing it the kind of first time, so many people have said, you know, thank you for talking about that, because that was the push that I needed to get therapy, or to start seeking, you know, assistance, or to get back on my medication. So all of these like wonderful, I think, conversations and actions have taken place from that. So it means so much to me. But the kind of new song that people haven't really heard, I would say it's probably the last song on the album. It's a track called Qualified. And that, there's a lot of imposter syndrome issues on this project, but that one is like really, really about how it plays out in relationships, and how it plays out in my artistic endeavors. And I think what's important about that song to me is that it doesn't really offer resolution. Like I don't want it to be something that says, and this is how you deal with that, because it's just kind of a thing that lives with you, that lives with us, you know, and that's what it is. So I like that song because it's open and vulnerable and kind of sad, and I hope we'll leave listeners kind of thinking, contemplating about, you know, their own kind of insecurities and where those things come from, and hopefully in doing that give them a space to like be okay with that, the fact that that's kind of a part of the process.
I mean, it seems like Qualified does for imposter syndrome what 1080p did for mental health issues. You know, it's making that conversation and bringing it to light, right? You're removing the stigma from the conversation while at the same time doing catharsis for yourself.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was the perfect summary. Like how these songs. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I couldn't say it better myself. So won't even try. But yeah.
I get you. Like it's a really great song. Like again, that's another one that really resonated too. Like it was the first time I heard 1080p. It was wistful, almost like a very, very teary-eyed listen.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So.
Now I just want to listen to that song.
And we'll cut while we play that song for you.
We'll play that song right here. Now, now actually, now what are you getting because you're still a PhD candidate?
Yes.
Is that right? What are you studying? Like, what is it in?
So I am in the Science and Technology Studies department at Cornell University. And to any people who are watching, it's okay if you don't know what that is. It's like very niche thing. It's as a field, it's relatively young. It's one of the newest departments at Cornell. I think 20, 25 years old. And so basically the field is interested in questions of like how knowledge production takes place in terms of science, how the social world is integrated into technology. And so it takes these kind of like anthropological, historical, sociological approaches to thinking about science and technology. So the way I've often talked to people about it is like people in my field will study like engineers and in the same way that anthropologists might study different cultures. And so my interest is in a field called sound studies, which thinks about the intersection of like sound technology and the social world and kind of all the intersections there. And so I'm interested in politics of studio spaces specifically, so kind of studio technologies and how people are recording and recording practices. That was a lot, sorry.
Yeah, no,
that's a great answer.
Well, my, that sounds really interesting, and I love how science encompasses all of those things that one might not necessarily associate with science at first. Because my question to you was going to be, you're pursuing this degree, you've got this music career going. Are they always going to be? Are you always going to be pursuing both of these fields? Is that something that you see yourself continuing to do?
That's a great question. My parents ask me that all the time. So I have a well-formulated answer. But basically, I don't feel like the academy is the place for me. Academia is anyone who's kind of navigated it in any capacity knows that it's a very interesting place. And specifically in terms of who gets to count as an expert and some of the gatekeeping that goes on in terms of, those kinds of dynamics are things I don't want to deal with. Like when I get on a stage, I can just talk about real stuff that's happened to me and connect with people in that moment. I'm not sitting there 3 years waiting for a publication to maybe come through. Right. And so even just sort of the ways that academia functions, it's like doesn't work with who I am or how I work. But I do want to be connected to institutions of higher learning. I think that they're cool spaces and there are lots of there's lots of exciting work that's being done. So, if I can lecture or teach a class, but not necessarily move down the tenure track, that's not something I'm interested in doing. But I want to do music until the wheels fall off. But I do also want to maintain some kind of relationship with any institution that would have me come in and chat about songwriting or about the politics behind the songs. Any of those aspects I think are things that I would want to do. And it's funny because I feel like I'm doing this wrong when I see artists who get honorary degrees, honorary PhDs. I'm like, I should just pursue my music until I get big enough that I can just go somewhere and get having to do all this extra writing.
I mean, it sounds like you're kind of making your own position, right? You're just like, I'm going to do this, and you're going to make it happen.
Yeah, it feels good and a little scary to be trying to forge this path that I haven't, there's not a precedent necessarily for me yet that I've found. If someone's doing it, please tell me how to do it.
Yeah, and I think you kind of touched on it there, the difference between academia and, let's say, the creative space, not saying that really exclusive, they share elements. But can you speak more to how the process is different between the work you do for, in your academic work versus the work you do for, let's say, making this album?
Yeah, so academic work, it's interesting even in terms of the kind of ways that my music career and academia intersect, in that even some of the spaces that I'm trying to get into to study, they don't care about me as an academic. When I email and I say, hey, I'm a PhD student, I'd love to come study your studio, nobody emails me back. And then when I say, hi, I'm Sammus, I'm a rapper, I'm a producer, and I'm trying to then suddenly I get emails back, which is really interesting in terms of the kind of priorities for some of these spaces. But in terms of music, I think as I'm moving forward, it's not that it's resembling more what PhD work looks like, but there's the kind of like time frame that I allot to making music looks similar to PhD work in the sense that if I make an album, I'm not going to drop it the next day. There's still a tremendous amount of like planning and you know, thinking about the thing that goes into it. So, you know, this project was done 5 or 6 months ago, and only now is it coming out after spending time thinking about what I wanted to have happen with it. But the writing process is very, very different for the academic world and music world. You know, I'll be driving, I'll start humming a thing, and then I'll go home and record it, and then the thing is there. But I think with academic work, there are a lot more sort of voices that are involved in dictating how a thing emerges. You know, like I sent the thing to my advisor, and my advisor is like, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't work. So, you know, music is definitely collaborative, but it feels a lot more mine than I think some of the writing I've tried to produce in an academic setting. So
you're more allowed to own it almost.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. And there's, you know, I think there are academics who are really good at infusing their sort of personal and the way that they're writing. I don't know that I'm very good at that, but with music, it's like I get to be 100% personal. I get to talk about, you know, what shirt I was wearing or when this thing happened. All of those things are important to that experience. Whereas in academia, I don't know. You know, I still sometimes feel like I have to sound a certain way and use certain terms, and that can be frustrating.
For sure.
Talk about that, like, imposter syndrome. It's like, I can imagine it's like so worse in friggin' academia.
Oh, yeah.
Because, yeah, I know I'd walk in and be like, do I need a tweed jacket? I don't understand.
Yeah. There's some very, even dynamics around like dress and presentation in the academy are like, you know, like I just want to wear what I want to wear. I don't want to be looked at in this way or thought of as being this kind of person because I'm, you know, I decided to wear my red hat today. So, yeah, I think that is also a part of it that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, getting back to the music, because I know that's probably your favorite thing.
Yeah.
Because I was reading an article recently about Spotify and about like kind of where the music industry is now, and basically albums versus singles. And the fact that, you know, with streaming, it seems like singles are so much more important to a lot of artists. But you've put out an album, and it seems like it's not just singles, you know, tied together. It's a very like well constructed as an album. Why did this need to be an album, and what do you think is the place of an album in like music as it stands now?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a fantastic question. So I think part of it is just the way that I'm programmed. So, you know, I was a 90s kid. So the kind of metric of measurement for an artist was like, here's my album. And so I think growing up in that way, it just programmed me to believe that that's the only way that I can kind of share music. And I don't think there's anything wrong with artists who are, you know, single after single after single, but to me, an album is it's like a home for all of these ideas, and it's a like discrete object that you can present and then move on to like the next part of your life or whatever you're trying to do. So to me, which I think Jessica was talking about, is that it's like a repository for my thoughts at this moment, and then I've given them to that, and then I can move on to this next moment. That's, I think, the role that an album plays for me personally. But I also, there's something really nice about like holding a CD or like an LP and just seeing the places that a person is going to go in one experience, you know, and to have somebody kind of curate an experience for you is a nice thing that, you know, that I just appreciate that experience. So I wanted to create that for my listeners. And I think the last part of it is that I have such wonderful supporters. Like I feel like they have encouraged me and allowed me the freedom and space to release anything I want in any format, whether it's a 6-song EP or an EP about Metroid or an LP about just my life. I feel like I'm grateful that I have the freedom to be able to release, you know, a whole bunch of singles that might not even be consolidated into a project, or the full LP. There's a lot of freedom there in terms of the things that they continue to support me with.
For sure.
I love that idea of you can create it and it's a singular thing, and then you can walk away.
Yeah.
It's not just analyzing all of your like I have this problem today and I'm going to release a song about it, and then you're kind of like,
right.
It's like coming out in drips and drabs, and you're kind of always in it. Never thought about that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That was such a good question.
I mean, you referenced CDs and like how primitive a media that is. Like, you burn a CD, that's what it is, like almost forever, right? And then you've got Kanye over here with Life of Pablo releasing like updates every couple months or whatever. You know,
like which one is the actual album? What am I supposed to be?
Exactly. What do I put in the iTunes folder when I'm like trying to put this on my phone? And that's a totally different sort of model. I almost sometimes when I hear some of my older stuff, I'm like, "Ooh, I wish I could just like re-record this or like change that."
It's like reading over LiveJournal in MySpace.
Exactly. So maybe I might adopt that in the future, but for now, I like having the thing. It happened, and now it's time for a different thing.
For sure.
Cool. Now, is there are you going to be doing like a tour in conjunction with the album release?
Yes, I am. And as we talked about, I'm getting my PhD right now. And so I'm TAing a class that meets Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I was really hoping for a Tuesday, Thursday, but that's okay. So what that means is that I'm doing I've called it the Weekend Warrior Princess Tour. Which basically means that every weekend throughout the last weekend in October, and then every weekend in November, I'm going to go to a different kind of part of the Northeast. I think that's part of the beauty of being from this area. Although it's so cold, there's all of these little cities and localities that you can get to relatively easy that are within like a 4 or 5 hour drive. So every weekend I'll be going to a different little place, whether it's Boston or New Haven or New Paltz or New York City or Philly. I can reach them in a fairly short amount of time. So yeah, that's my little tour situation.
Right.
So definitely, I'm sure everybody on the Northeast is very lucky, and the rest of the country is going to be jealous. Hopefully you'll get out to the West Coast where I am to do other stuff. Although I just saw you at Geek Girl Con, so.
Yes. Are you based out of Seattle?
That was right. What was that?
Are you based out of Seattle?
No, I'm based out of LA.
Oh, okay.
But Jessica, did you have anything else you wanted to?
No, I think I touched on everything there. And then again, I think the West Coast can be very jealous. I'm over in Oakland, so it's like.
Oh wait! Oh my gosh! Okay, I might
Oakland.
be going to a thing in Oak. I might be going to a thing in Oak. I don't know, but I might.
Okay. All right.
You heard it here first, America.
Yeah. No. Let me know. Like I'm down. I'm there.
Yes.
Oh man. Actually, on the before we wrap up, and I do want to talk about tomorrow's when the album drops, we're doing a live chat with you, so that people can get their questions in now that we've gotten our questions in. And also, if I have this right, you said you'd be willing to do a giveaway of the album.
Yes, so I will give a signed LP, CD, whatever person's. I can't sign a digital copy, sorry, but I can send an email. But yeah, anyone's preferred sort of way to receive music, I totally want to do that. That makes me so happy.
So we'll be doing that and choosing a lucky winner from anyone who submits questions to us. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll have information about that live chat with this video, and we'll be putting it on our social media and stuff, making sure everybody knows that it's going on. And I think that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today and for answering our silly little questions. But good luck with the launch too. I mean, this is a huge deal, and we hope that we get to spread the word far and wide, because it's definitely an amazing album.
Thank you so much, and for this opportunity. I was telling Jessica earlier that the Mary Sue, every time y'all post about me, my whole internet explodes in the best way possible. Everyone starts buying my albums and tweeting and stuff. So it's just, I'm so excited to be able to have this conversation with y'all. I don't want to get too emotional, but thank you. I'm really happy that you have created a space for an artist like me to be able to connect with the people that I've always wanted to connect with.
Thank you. Really. So thank you so much.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
607 342 4816 07 342 4816 342 4816 342 4816.
Games, dude, yeah, I beast on them. Sega 2, yeah, I be Sonic. In my day-to-day, I stay playing Bay. They be hating me cause I'm me, sorry. Tickle pink like I'm Majin Buu. Call me Cage, take your pick. Nick, Lucas, and Johnny too. I do a split, then I'll break your dick. But in real life, I'm real nice. Just flexing hard cause I feel like I've been holding back about all the flack. And online attacks got me real tight. You wanna preach about Gamergate? Let's reconvene at a later date. You really wishes someone would listen. Now take a seat and some Gatorade. You are so parched on the internet. Got no regard, I'm not feeling cats who leave crazy comments. They acting jaundiced and way too fond of inventing facts. They leave rape threats in your mentions. They get big ups from their henchmen. When you kick them out, they make new accounts that are fake like some extensions. I'm thinking you should invest in collecting a best friend who won't let you press send to someone you just met through Twitter or Sirius XM. They're letting me have it, and yeah, they can pray for my absence. Through their habit of being an abscess, they be making me cash through my AdSense. Sorry, I'm not on right now. I'm logging off the internet. Leave a message, I won't call you back. Hit me up at 607 342 4816 342 481. Sorry, I'm not on right now. I'm logging off the internet. Leave a message, I won't call you back. Hit me up at 607 342 4816 342 48. Who hurt you? Did you have an early curfew? Had a crush but you wasn't in a purview? Had nobody you could turn to? Did it not occur to you that I'm a nerd boo? Yeah, I wanna be the same team. Seem like we excited by the same thing. Still, I would never type scathing, crazy hate to a page that I can't dig. Or are you one of those who do it for the lows, do it for a high five from another troll, but then you wanna hide like playing MMOs? Cause no one ever knows who you are and it shows. I'm sorry your life isn't working out, but I promise that typing a hurtful thought will not solve any plight you're concerned about. And I honestly like for your curtain call, like take a bow, take a seat, thinking about the things you speak. Why you wish they get me pissed? I fire a blitz like Pistol Pete. Your Phenom's expanding, you're feeling abandoned. You think they are pandering, so you throw a tantrum and hide like a phantom while holding us ransom with terrorist banter that you pass as candor. You're really a land bird from Chef Colonel Sanders. Yeah, you writing a lie, I disable the comments. I oughta say thanks for your antics, cause if I think about it, you took all the time to come